Hello everyone. Just wanted to do a quick video on these Holset calibration tools that you can rent. So I got this device off eBay. I have my CAN wires connected here, and then power. You just plug it in up here. So get that plugged in. You can see it'll start up here. So I believe there's a couple companies that make these things. I don't know if it's all using the same internal firmware or what the situation is there. Maybe someone is making them and then they're being rebranded. I don't know. So I don't know if all of them have this issue. But if you go through the process here, so I believe it's trying to connect to the actuator at this point. Maybe I didn't hit the button. Okay, so now it's erasing the previous calibration. Okay, so that's fine. That's just part of the process. And if you hit next, actuator's already installed. Next. So now it's calibrating. So we'll let it finish. And then you can see, I don't know, maybe because of the glare, but it succeeded. Okay, calibration succeeded. The problem is this actuator is actually bad. It's in a state of motor off, but this is overriding those states so that it can calibrate it. And I'm just making an assumption. I don't believe it's looking for, states that you maybe shouldn't or can't calibrate this device. So if you hit done, all right, so now this actuator is, quote unquote, calibrated. So now, you're going to fill up your truck with coolant, you're going to start it, and you're still going to get error codes, right? Because the actuator is actually physically bad. All right, so one way that we can tell that is if we unplug this and then we plug in this guy here. All right, make sure the CAN line is connected. So let's, all right, so now the CAN line's connected. All right, so if we look at the information, this state here it's in a state of override. Okay, so this device here is setting that state, and that's part of doing the calibration process. So you have to tell the actuator move to this max position, then move to the min position, and then it calculates that span. And basically it'll tell you if it's calibrated correctly or not. So now this is in a state of override. All right. So now if we take power away and then give it 5 seconds or so to reset everything, let all the capacitors drain, and then you turn the power back on. So now if you look at the status or the state, you'll see the state is motor off. Well, when it's in a state of motor off, you can't calibrate it, or you're not supposed to calibrate it, or the tool is supposed to prevent you from calibrating it because the state is going to be incorrect, or the calibration is going to be incorrect. So, here you get a calibration error and it says, you can't calibrate this actuator. All right, so if we go back to the state, so you can see it looks like it calibrated it, right? So your open end stop is 367, your close end stop is 834. Okay, but if you look at these two, this current position and demanded position, so the demanded position is what, 50%, but the current position is 0%. So you're going to hook this up to your truck and it's not going to work. So this tool, even though it went through the calibration process, it it's not going to work. It tells you it successfully did it, and you're going to end up pulling your hair out trying to figure out what went wrong. And it's just the fact that the tool is not looking for these particular things, which is fine. It's I believe what this tool is made for is you buy an actuator, right? So the actuator is in a known good state at that point. So this PSA is basically, if you're having actuator problems and you rent this thing hoping that it'll, recalibrate and everything will be fine, this may say that it's fine, but your actuator's still bad, right? So, this one here, it gives you a little more. Oh, it disconnected the can line. So this one here, it at least gives you a little more details, right, as to this guy. So if you're thinking about renting one of these, which is fine if you want to rent these, I just wouldn't rent this unless you know that your actuator is in a good state, that it's working correctly. If you have any errors or any codes or anything, renting this to try and recalibrate is probably not going to fix anything. Just throwing that out there, and it may tell you that it's successful, even though, as we've demonstrated here, it's not. It was not successful. Um, so if you're going to rent one of these, my suggestion would be you buy the actuator with it. You buy the actuator, you rent this thing, install the actuator, calibrate it, right? So, but another option is, so, we've been working on this for a while, and this works really well, and it gives you a little more information about what's going on with the actuator. So, you know, we're going to put the files out to where you can build this thing if you want to, whatever the cost of building it is. It's a 3D printed case. We'll make the firmware available to where you can install the firmware on it. But this thing, it will calibrate, a good known actuator. But it'll also give you a little more insight into if your actuator has issues. Now, trying to pinpoint what those issues are, it'll give you a state. It's not necessarily going to fix anything. It's really no different than the other one in that regard. But at least you have a little more information and maybe give you a little bit more guidance in what you should do. For example, if you have a CAN communication error, I think it's a UC0001 or something. This is what you would see, right? That as long as you have everything connected up correctly, if the actuator is not found, then obviously the actuator is not responding to CAN messages at that point. So I don't know, it just gives you a little more insight, but we'll make the files available. And if you want to know, how we figured out all this stuff, just leave a comment or something down below and we can go over, the CAN messages and all that kind of stuff to try and help, show you how we did this. But again, not trying to sell you anything, maybe we can make some extra ones and, try and sell them. I don't know if there's a market for it or not, but you can definitely make one of these. So again, leave a comment below. We can show you, the schematic, give you a BOM so that you can build this thing essentially. It's not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward actually. It's just got an STM32 MCU in it. But yeah, anyway, just want to give you a heads up that even though this thing said it successfully calibrated the actuator, it really didn't. And there's no way for you to know that. But anyway, not bashing this tool at all. This tool I think works perfectly fine as long as it has an actuator that is in a good state, like their rebuilt actuators. So not bashing this tool. This tool does what it was designed to do. It will calibrate a good known actuator, and it does it well. What started this journey was I had to rent this thing, and I think it was like $150 or something to rent this. And you rent it for 5 minutes or whatever, and it pairs to the actuator, and you can only use it on one actuator. So I thought that was a little ridiculous. So what I did was, they're already getting the money on the rebuild of the actuator. It's like, come on. But anyways, that's what started this whole path was, that just, I don't know. It just irked me that I had to pay $150 to rent this. And I know there's some other tools out there that can do it, but I don't know. Anyway, that's just the PSA for today. If you're going to rent one of these, make sure that your actuator works and is in good working order, because otherwise you may not get what you think you're getting with this. So anyways, good luck with your actuators.